welcome to Love Walk Life once more with Mike Owangwa. And tonight we'll be talking about 7 pointers that your relationship is failing. If you're here with us, please just invite your friends, invite your family, call people, let them participate in this wonderful moment. And if you're watching us, please just drop a message, say hi, and let us know where you're watching from. I'll just give us a minute to join and invite our friends. Alright? So welcome to Love Walk Life with Mike Owangwa. If you're watching from my profile, I need you to kindly just hook up to Mike Owangwa, my page, Mike Owangwa, so that you can follow up with us. And if you're watching, please just say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Just send an emoji, send a comment, send a hi, and let's talk together. Okay, so 7 reasons or 7 ways to know that your relationship is failing. Number 1, the person avoids contact with you. The person avoids contact with you. So when people are in relationships and the relationships have issues, first, if you're in a relationship, you're supposed to want to spend time with the person. Okay, maximum time. So you spend 5 hours, it's like you just spend 5 minutes. That's the way it's supposed to be. But when someone begins to avoid you, the person begins to move away from you, the person begins to, take your hands away when you touch them, the person begins to avoid, body contact, avoids hugging you, the person does not pay attention to you, the person avoids, just looks for every reason on earth, gives excuses. It's raining, my cat died, all those kind of ridiculous things. The person gives excuses that are not related, okay, unreasonable excuses. You know that this person is avoiding and there's something wrong. Sometimes the person also changes plans unceremoniously. The person changes plans unceremoniously. So you had already agreed, okay, next week we're going out on a date, we are going to XYZ place. And then suddenly the person cancels unceremoniously. You know there's something wrong. The person is looking for every reason not to just be with you. The person also avoids your friends and family. You know why? Because knowing your friends and your family show commitment. The person doesn't want to be burdened with that commitment in that relationship. Because also sometimes your friends and your family will see things that you don't see. You might be so carried away in love that you don't see things. Your friends and your family will know if that person is not interested in you. So the person will begin to avoid them, avoid your friends, avoid your family. So let's have a self-check. You're in a relationship, whether not married or married, because this happens both ways. So if you're not married yet and you want to be sure that you're in this life-changing relationship, you're sure that you want to be sure that this relationship you're in is going to be one for the keeps, then you need to ask yourself these questions. Is the person avoiding me? Has the person begun to avoid me? And then you yourself, are you avoiding somebody? Are you looking for every reason not to be with them? Then it might just show that something is wrong. Number 2, reduced communication. Reduced communication. Now, when somebody begins to avoid communication with you, communication is the oil, they say, that lubricates relationships. So when somebody begins to avoid communicating with you, someone begins to avoid communicating with you, then it shows that there's a problem. Reduced communication. The person doesn't call you as often as they used to. The person doesn't text you. The person looks for every reason, gives excuses. When you call, you call several times, person doesn't pick your call, and then maybe later the person gives excuses. I didn't see it on my phone, it was bad, and all those things. And it's becoming too frequent. Then you should read you should read in between the lines and know that something is wrong. That person is probably getting tired of the relationship and wants out, but is looking for a way to say. So he does not call you or text you, she does not call you or text you anymore. More mixed calls with unreasonable explanations, those kind of things. Then the person hates conversing with you. Now when you're in a relationship with someone, you're supposed to enjoy talking with each other. You're supposed to enjoy being with each other. You talk a lot. and then this person begins to get tired of conversations. The person begins to just say, I'm tired, I can't talk now, let's talk about this later. The person begins to avoid conversations. Then you know something is wrong. So you need to do that check, ask yourself the question. Now if you're married and these things are happening, then it's time for you to sit with your spouse, with your husband and wife, and ask them what's wrong. These things might mean that something else is wrong. Something else is wrong. There are issues that have not been addressed, and until you address those issues, these signs, might keep popping up every now and then. So they will help you to know that there are bigger issues which you need to talk about and which you need to resolve. You need to also check yourself. So am I the one who is reducing communication? Am I the one who is not talking? Am I the one who is avoiding the person's calls or messages? Am I the one who does not respond to messages? Am I the one who gives unreasonable explanation? Am I the one who is avoiding conversations? Then you should ask yourself that question. Number 3, the tone of voice. The tone of voice. The person uses harsh tones of voice. Now, when someone who used to speak lovingly to you, I'm going to always be addressing this for both singles and married people. So you're single. Let's look at the singles now. Someone who used to speak to you lovingly, gently, now begins to be harsh, unnecessarily harsh, then something is wrong. The person wasn't talking to you that way before, but suddenly you discover the person begins to snap at you, the person begins to get unnecessarily irritable, and the person shouts on you and all that. Then you know something is wrong. You begin to notice attitudinal change. It's a sign that that person is probably becoming uninterested in the relationship. They become easily irritated. There's this story someone told us one time. He said there's this man, before the wife was the one talking, and then before they got married, every time they are walking along a pathway, they love walking together, they love spending time together. So the woman will be walking ahead of him and then he will be behind. And then if anything happens, she stumbles, she hits her leg on a stone. It will be so apologetic, as if it was the one that caused the accident. He'll be saying, "Oh, sorry, my dear, I hope you are not hurt. Oh, so sorry." Fast forward to when they got married. They got married, and then the same thing happened. One day she hit her leg, and she was expecting the same thing. And the man said, "What you will watch where you are going? Walk well." So what really changed? For them it was familiarity, but it's always an example of what can happen to people. When someone begins to be disinterested, when someone begins to get tired of relationship, begin to talk rudely, they don't talk with civility to you anymore, and then you know that something is wrong. They begin to be easily irritated. They disrespect you. Now, when people are in a relationship, they should respect each other, and when they begin to disrespect each other, it's a sign that something is wrong. Let's look at it for married people. If you're in a marriage and suddenly your husband or wife who wasn't talking to you that way, for who wasn't harsh, or she used to respect you and suddenly she begins to disrespect you, it's time for you to sit back and think, hey, there's something deeper than what I'm saying. There's a bigger issue. Okay, so you seek to talk about it. Find out from the person what are the issues. Let's address it. It might be something else that happened that the person has carried over and is beginning to affect the person's attitude towards you. The person is beginning to talk to you rudely, is beginning to talk to you harshly. Even the man begins to disrespect you. The man that used to treasure his wife suddenly begins to talk to her like she's trash or like she's his child. Then you know that something is wrong and you need to talk about it. Alright, number four. When the person is no longer interested in what affects or concerns you. Now, when people are in a relationship, they want to know what's happening in the life of the other person. You're interested in, events that affect them, the dates, their birthdays, you're interested in what happened with their day, where they went, who they met, all those things. And then when the person is no longer interested in those things, it's a sign that something is probably wrong. The person is no longer interested in things that concern you. Then you should begin to know that it's time to talk about it. It's time to address some issues. The person is not interested in what concerns you, what affects you. You begin to notice this coldness, unexplainable coldness. It's time to be careful. It's time to talk about it. It's time to find out, do you really want to go on with this relationship if you're not married? And if you're married already, you will need to address the issues that are leading to this coldness. Then you need to watch the person's behavior. It doesn't remember your birthday anymore. It doesn't remember your special days anymore. It doesn't remember, all those things that are dear to you. It doesn't remember all those things that make you happy. No longer important. The person forgets important details about your life. Then something is wrong. Number 5. The greatest, this happens especially to women, or with women. Their instincts are very strong. So a woman's instinct tells her when something is wrong. So everything might seem right. You may not be able to point your finger at what exactly the problem is, but your instinct tells you something is wrong. There's something not adding up in this relationship. If your instinct tells you so, then you need to listen to your instinct. If your instinct is telling you that this relationship might not lead to marriage, this man is not interested in carrying this thing further, or this woman is not interested in carrying it further, then you should really, really listen to your instinct. Sometimes you sense it deeply. You sense it deeply that something is wrong. This person is lying to me. You sense it deeply. Someone told me about these people. They were planning to get married, and then they had gone far, and then this lady, at some point, she began to have this feeling that something was wrong, something was not adding up. Okay, they had talked about everything. The guy had told her about his family and all that, but she felt something was wrong. One day she dreamt, and she saw that there was a child. He had a boy, grown-up boy. Boy looked like him. And so when she woke up in the morning, she was really disturbed. Could it be that this guy had a child and he didn't mention it to me? So when she met him, she raised it up with him, and he said there was nothing like that. So one day they went to the village to see the family, the parents, and then lo and behold, she saw the same boy, the face she saw in the dream. The guy walked into the building. He had always told her that this boy was his uncle's child, so she didn't know. But she had that instinct, that deep feeling, and then she had a dream, and she wasn't comfortable anymore. So he was trying to cover the matter. Eventually, the little boy came and met the father, and he was asking for money to buy something. The father told him to hang on. The boy went. Later, the boy went to meet some other person. That person now said, "Go and meet your daddy." They didn't know she heard, but she heard. Okay, so sometimes these things can happen. People can be deceived, and they don't know, but they have this feeling. There's this gut feeling that something is wrong, something is not right with this relationship. This person is not sincere. This person is doing shady things. I can't place a finger on it, but I know that something is not right. So when that happens, you need to really, really listen to your instincts. Especially women. Women are very, very intuitive. Okay, most times you already know that something is wrong. You already know that things are not okay, but you want to lie to yourself that everything is fine. Okay, we need to really listen to our instincts. They really help in relationships. So number 6, we are going to, remember, if you're just joining us, this is Love Walk Life with Mike Owangwa. We're on my Facebook page, and please kindly share this broadcast as soon as you see it. Invite your friends and your family to join us. Alright, so number 6, they no longer try to impress you. When people are becoming tired of a relationship, They don't try to impress you anymore. They don't care whether you're happy or sad. When you're in love with somebody, the person says, okay, I don't like this or I don't like that. You try to please them. You try to impress them. Sometimes you try to dress for the person. Sometimes you wear the dress the person says he likes, or you wear the clothes she says she likes. Just you make the person happy. But at this point, when people are not interested anymore, they don't care what you think. They don't care what you feel. Okay, they no longer try to impress the person. They are no longer jealous. Like they say, when people are in love, they are jealous of each other. There's this story I heard about a pastor who was interested in a lady, but he wasn't talking. So the lady will always go, he will tell her he wants to see her, he will pray for her, pray with her, talk with her. They will talk at length, but he wasn't saying anything. So one day, she bought a ring, and she wore the ring to visit the pastor. And so when he saw the ring, she noticed that his countenance changed completely. The man was not happy again. He was looking very, very spiritual that day. So, he was speaking in monosyllables that day. Although their conversations, he was just talking anyhow. Eventually she now wanted to leave, and he said, okay, bye-bye. He said, I want you to see me off today like you normally do. Reluctantly, he followed her. She now asked him, tell me the truth, why is your face like that? Is it because of the ring? Is it because of the ring? See, I just brought it. It's nothing, and you could see that how the guy heaved a sigh of relief. He was happy. He was happy. So when people love other people, they get jealous. It happens with people who are in relationships, happen amongst married couples. So at this point, when the person is no longer interested, he doesn't care. If you like, be dating somebody else. If you like, be doing anything you want. The person is even tired. The person wants out. The person is looking for a reason to back out of the relationship. So we need to be conscious of that. So finally, for tonight, number 7, before we take some questions. And by the way, if you have a question, you have a comment, please just put it up on the chat. I'll be following up to see. I already have some questions here coming in. So number 7, they don't include you in their future plans. They don't include you in their future plans. Now, what does this mean? The person begins to plan. Normally, when people are in love, they plan together now. Okay, if you want to get married, or if you want to relocate, you want to travel, you plan together. But now you find that the person doesn't include you in the future plan. The person has probably is applying for a school in another location, maybe another state or in another country, and the person is not telling you. The person does not involve you in the plans at all. Then you know something is wrong. Because you ask yourself, where does that place you? Both of you are in a relationship, and you should be planning together. The person should consider you. Let's assume you want to get married. Okay, the person does not include you in their plans. Sometimes you are even with them and they begin to introduce you, meet my friend, and then you begin to ask yourself, why are you introducing me as your friend? That kind of thing, like any casual friend. So these are some pointers that your relationship might be failing. These are pointers that there's an issue, and we need to really begin to look at them. So I'm going to run through them again, just so that we can get them, number 1 to 7. And by the way, if you're just joining us, this is Love Walk Live with Mike Owangwa. We're talking about 7 pointers that your relationship is failing. So number 1, we said they avoid contact with you. Number 2, we said reduced communication. They reduce communication with you. They stop calling or they stop texting like they used to do. Number 3, we said the person begins to use harsh tone to speak with you, or you begin to notice attitudinal changes in the person. Number 4, we say the person is no longer interested in those things that affect or concern you. Also, the person begins to exhibit coldness. Number 5, your instinct tells you so. Your instinct tells you so. So you sense it deeply, especially for women. Women are very intuitive, so you begin to sense that something is wrong. Number 6, They no longer try to impress you. Okay, they are no longer jealous. They don't care what you're doing. You can do anything you want. You're on your own. It's your business. They are no longer interested. And finally, number 7, we said they don't include you in their future plans. So you find people making plans and they're not considering you at all. Then you know that there's a big issue. Alright, so if you're online and you have a question, please kindly just send your message. Kindly, thank you for those who are sharing this broadcast. Thanks a lot. I can see people sharing the broadcast. I appreciate you. So we're going to be taking a couple of questions. I'll be done for tonight. Okay, number 1, somebody says here that I had a friend of mine. He was in a relationship for about 5 years. On the day of the wedding, the girl just said no in the midst of people. What do you advise the man to do at that moment? So, guys, you heard this. The friend was in a relationship for 5 years, and so based on what we've been saying, I feel that at some point the girl may have been showing signs that she was no longer interested. The girl may have been showing signs, because I heard about this one too years ago. Back then when I was in the university, there was this wedding that I was holding, and I mean big wedding. People were there from all over town. They had gone. And on the day of the wedding, the lady was crying. She said she was not convinced that she would get married, And we were wondering, I think before then she had been saying things about that, but she managed to hold on till the wedding day. And on the morning of the wedding, she said she couldn't move on. She couldn't go. People were already in church, they had already cooked. People were singing, waiting in church. And finally, she said she was not going. And man, that was terrible. At the end of the day, they had to tell the people to disperse. I think they had to share the food for people to eat and all. I mean, it was talk of the town. But fast forward about a year or so later, I met someone who knew the husband. The person was supposed to be the husband and the groom, who happened to be a pastor, a missionary pastor. And he said it wasn't easy, when anything happened, but he moved on. And God helped him, was able to get over it. He got married to another person, and then life moved on. So, what we need to say this here: if you're not convinced about a relationship, there's no need pushing it. That's why you need to be convinced. Don't let people convince you. I don't believe in people telling you this is the person you should marry. I believe in prophecies, but if a prophet tells you this is the person you should marry, it won't be there to resolve the issues when you have issues, because marriage involves work, involves understanding, involves tolerance, involves a lot of mutual input, into the marriage. So if someone just prophesies and tells you marry this person, I wouldn't feel that is something that you should run with. You should be convinced within yourself first. So in this case, for a lady to say on the wedding day that she was no longer interested, that means there was a problem. Maybe she had been feeling it before. So if you had been feeling it, why go that far? Because for you to get to the wedding day, it means there were lots of process. You bought things, you went to the village probably, come on. So if you're not convinced, don't waste the other person's time. This happens both ways, even for men who waste women's time, and at the end of the day, they say they're no longer interested. Okay, and then if this has happened to you, question, what do you do? It's simple. The person doesn't want, You can't force it. If somebody on the day of wedding or just close to the wedding is saying they are no longer interested, if you force that person into that marriage, you're going to be terrorized, as it were, in that marriage. It's going to be terrible. You won't enjoy it, because the person will keep making reference to it and saying, I would not have been in this mess if not that you forced me, or if not that you cajoled me into, doing this. So, if the person doesn't want you, fine, you're going to feel hurt, you're going to feel pain, but I'm telling you that you will get over it. And if you're somebody here, you're watching me right now, you're in that situation, somebody broke your heart, dumped you at the last minute, first thing you should do is give glory to God. It's painful, but I believe there is something better waiting for you, and you will smile at the end of the day by God's grace. All right. So there's another question here. This one says, we're talking about 7 ways or seven ways to know that the relationship is failing. Men can be so secretive. This person is asking, men can be so secretive. How do you know he's not lying to his wife or girlfriend about anything? Well, I don't know how you will know if he's lying or he's not lying. Sometimes people lie. Sometimes you find out, sometimes you don't find out. But what I advise people who are in relationships, transparency is key. People should be able to be open to each other. If you find somebody who is open, who is transparent, who is sincere, then you just found gold, you just hit gold. Okay, you should treasure that relationship. Good relationships, in good relationships, people communicate with each other. They bear their minds, okay? They don't lie. And so you need to give the person the benefit of doubt. You yourself, you need to be open, you need to be sincere. And then by God's way, the person will be sincere to you. But of course, if you notice things that show elements of insincerity, then you need to talk about it. You need to raise the matter up. Don't sweep them under the carpet. So there are different ways to know. Sometimes you find out that the person is actually lying to you. Confront them and find out why they are talking that way. Okay, so this one, somebody else is asking, is it lawful for a married man to still be chatting with his ex-girlfriend? And when confronted by his wife, his response is that it does not matter because he's not having anything to do with her. Okay, well, first of all, we recommend that when people are married, they are married. Okay, now you can't say that because somebody is married, then they will not talk to any other person that they knew before. They will not talk to the ex-girlfriend because the person is an ex-girlfriend. But what we say is that the level of communication, the level of discussions, there should be boundaries. You know that this person was your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend. It's not expected that you should be sending some kind of chats. Okay, you draw the boundary so that you don't go back to where you're coming from. If you begin to have distractions, you will not focus fully on your relationship. So imagine if you were the one and you were the man, and then your wife begins to chat with an ex-boyfriend. You will not be comfortable with it. Or if you were the woman and your husband began to chat with an ex-girlfriend, you wouldn't be comfortable with it. So people need to be careful. Okay, at the end of the day, each man knows where his boundaries are. So, but you need to set those boundaries. You're with an ex, you shouldn't be chatting on ungodly hours. The chat you shouldn't be talking about the past, because here you're in another relationship now. You're married, for goodness sake. So you should focus on your marriage, and you shouldn't involve in chats or discussions that will threaten the present marriage that you're in. Okay, so I don't recommend that. We need to be careful. You need to exercise discretion. So she says the man's response is that it does not matter because it's not having anything to do with her. Well, you might not have anything to do with her now, but you might have something to do with her soon. Maybe the day you have a disagreement with your wife or with your husband, you begin to go and report to that person, and then we've heard all sorts of funny stories where people end up having relationships with their exes, okay, probably because they didn't control themselves, they didn't manage it well. So we need to be very, very careful. We need to be very careful. Alright, so I have the second to the last question here. This person says, Pastor, I'm in a serious relationship with a guy and has introduced me to his parents. We're about getting married, but he's still in touch with his ex-girlfriend, and it's really causing big issues in our relationship. I think it's similar to what I've already responded to. So he has introduced you to his parents. By the way, when someone takes you to his parents, These days, for people who are serial cheats, it does not mean anything. No. Some parents are even tired because the person has introduced like 5 or 6 people, 7 people. They won't say it in front of it. Now call the person, hope this one will stay, hope this one is the real one. They won't tell you. Okay, so when people take it to their parents, it's supposed to mean commitment, right? But unfortunately, for unserious people, it doesn't mean anything. They'll take it to their parents, even their grandparents. They'll even take it to the shrine in their village. But it doesn't mean anything to them. Okay, so don't get deceived. Like we always say, love with your heart, but think with your head. Don't do it the other way around. Don't think with your heart and love with your head. Love with your heart, but let your head still be functional, so you can see and identify red flags when they show up, so that you can, you'll be able to objectively handle issues and know when something is wrong. So you are in a serious relationship. He has introduced you to his parents. You're about getting married. These days when people say we're about getting married or we're going to get married, it's when you quiz them further, now you understand that he just promised you marriage. He just promised you marriage doesn't mean that he's going to get married to you. I just say we will get married, maybe because it's for him to get what he wants. We'll get married, and so you are just relaxed. Then he takes you to his parents. You just relax. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Nothing is happening. We are going to get married. How long are you going to continue with that kind of life? So now, he's still in touch with his ex-girlfriend. Probably they are discussing very serious matters. Certainly they can't be planning your wedding for you now. So they are discussing other things. So you should be sensible and talk about it. Find out if this is real. It's causing big issues. So you should be asking yourself, do I want to go on with this relationship? Okay, so you should ask yourself that question. At the end of the day, you are the one who makes the final decision. Now, the last question for tonight. It says, I'm dating a guy that has another girlfriend. I'm dating a guy that has another girlfriend. But he told me that I'm the one he loves. And he's about to do my introduction. Okay, well, fine. So it's possible, but there was a teaching I did sometime, and I was talking about closing one relationship before you begin another one. You really want to be committed in a relationship, then the one you were in before, you need to close it completely, close it neatly. Okay, it shouldn't be that the person suddenly discovers you're going to get married when your card comes out. The other day, there was this lady that was heartbroken who I was speaking with, and what happened to her? She had been in a relationship with this guy for 5 years. She had been in a relationship with him for 5 years, and then at the 5th year, fifth year, she now discovered, he didn't even tell her, she now saw a card for his introduction. He was going to, get married to another girl. He didn't even have the courtesy to tell her. And later discovered that he had been dating that girl for 2 years. Okay, so meaning in the 3rd year of their relationship, he got involved in with this other girl, and so it went on. And then she was stuck for 5 years. And when she spoke with me, she was devastated. But thank God we spoke, and I encouraged her, told her a couple of things. I told her to thank God, that this thing showed up here and at that point, because what if it had come up later? What if he had kept on with it and maybe even married the other lady I didn't know, and she still kept going, so these things happen, so when somebody begins to tell you he has another girlfriend, you're the one he loves, that person has a problem fundamentally. Okay, is either the person in a relationship with you or not, because the implication is, let's assume that he's really serious with you, the implication is that he's going to hurt another person. I wouldn't want that to happen to somebody else, because if he hurts the person, it can happen to you too. You wouldn't want it to happen to you, so please do not encourage it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been Love Walk Live with Mike Wangwa. I want to thank you, those of us that joined. I want to appreciate you. I know some of you are going to be watching the replay, and we're going to be broadcasting it on our other platforms, sharing it, so that those who missed can watch it eventually. So please, we'll be putting up announcement. I think almost every other Saturday, or every Saturday in the month of October, we'll be having this Facebook live session, and then maybe 3 Saturdays in the month of November or so, we'll be having this Facebook live session where we will send you notices of when we'll be holding them. Now, of course, questions will keep coming in. We've dealt with some questions tonight. You can just drop your comments at any point when you join. You have questions, you can also drop them. You have your contributions, there are things you disagree with. Oh, come on, put them up and let's engage. Thank you very, very, very much. It's been lovely having you on this platform tonight. Thank you. God bless you. Good night, and I'll see you next week, Saturday, same time, 8 p.m. God bless you.